Today's video is sponsored by ZocDoc. It's a free app and website where you can choose from among 100,000 healthcare professionals here in the U.S. And yes, they do take insurance. Now, many of you have indicated a need for medical attention for a wide variety of mood disorders or family practice issues and much more beyond that. So with ZocDoc, you can find medical assistance and check actual appointment times and receive professional care. As the need arises, go to the link that we have below the video here and then proceed with confidence. Hey Team Healthy, glad to be with you on another episode of Unbound. Keep in mind that my Unbound series is where I receive and collect questions and comments from you, and then I'm going to comment back so that I can kind of tend to some of the issues that are just real life and very specific with respect to you and many other fellow viewers here. And so as you have any kind of personal issues you want to write in the comments section, please do so. And who knows, it may be that it'll make its way to one of my Unbound series here. Today, we're going to be talking about how so many times you can struggle with narcissistic influences that remain in your mind for a long time, and and you know that you probably shouldn't keep being influenced by some key people from your past, but they just keep popping up in your mind and influence the way you think. Now, the first question that I'm going to get into, I've got two of them here primarily. The first question comes from a middle-aged woman, and she's got multiple issues going on here. This person says, I'm a 44-year-old woman who's been wounded by a narcissistic mother and all her extended family. All right, pause right there. I don't know what the whole situation was with the extended family. It's difficult enough when your own mother is somebody that is a giver, the conduit for all sorts of harshness and anger and judgment and condescension, and that can really mess with the kid's mind. Obviously, you wish that the mother would be somebody who is fair, can still talk with you about pluses and minuses, but in a way that still allows you to have your dignity. Apparently, that wasn't the case. Then she says, I had a disastrous marriage in my 20s, and I still feel shame over that. I now have a supportive husband, a beautiful daughter, and good friends, but still, at the slightest hint of criticism, I crumble. It's like I've been transported back into the junior high years, and I'm worried about what I'm going to say that will make me look foolish. You'd think I'd be over it right now, by now. How can I get the judgmental voices out of my head? Way back in the olden days, when I was in graduate school, and I finished my doctorate in 1980, so that kind of gives you an idea of how old I am. I've been around a while. But I had a professor that said, Les, you're not going to be able to guide anyone any further than where you yourself are able to go. And which made all the sense in the world, and it was his way of challenging. Make sure you know yourself well and that you're in a constant update mode with respect to who you are and how you conduct yourself. Because if you're going to be helping someone else out, you don't want to just do it theoretically. You want to be drawn from your own personal growth experiences. And I thought that was wonderful advice. We can take the same thought and put it into any other leadership kind of position. For example, parenting. The parent ideally would be somebody that would say, well, I've thought a lot of things through in my years, and I have much that I'd like to share with the generation behind me, or in this case, the extended family. You'd like to think that there would be plenty of members in this lady's extended family who would say, our family has had highs and lows and pluses and minuses. You're going to experience some of it. Let's talk. And so they would have thought it through. How many people in your world have done that? Now, see, to me, in order for somebody to have a true, legitimate voice in your life, they needed to have already done the work themselves. For example, when you teach or when you're guiding someone else, first of all, you need to have a pretty good sense of knowledge about the topic. And I dare say there are a whole lot of parents or ex-spouses or extended family members or folks at work who are just winging it when it comes to figuring out what to do with personal relationships. On top of that, not only do you need to have a certain knowledge about the topic that you're involved in, But you also need to have some personal experience about that. For example, that mother, before she judges you, might think, I've been on the receiving end of judgments and I know what it feels like. I need to make sure that I draw upon my own history of having been judged so that as I pass it on to the next generation, we're going to do a little bit better. Obviously, that didn't happen in this person's case. And then in addition, if you're going to be a guide towards someone like that mother or whoever else it might be, you also need to know how to discern that person you're trying to influence, what their unique distinctions are that might make them a little bit different from you. That mother, thinking with respect to this 44-year-old woman, could think, I had certain experiences, but you're different. And you have some different influences. Let me make sure that I'm constantly staying updated on who you are and how you feel and why you feel the way you do. I want to know you as thoroughly as possible. And then also, you have to have empathy if you're going to be a healthy guide, and you have to be a really solid model. Now, to this 44-year-old woman, I would kind of challenge her and think, okay, as your mother did and even perhaps currently attempts to have influence over you, how much of this leadership development did she go through that would make her qualified to be a really good voice of reason for you? And so many people who have messed up someone else's mind, you examine them, and it's like you yourself have not done the work. You haven't really worked hard to have balance and meaning and purpose in your life. What gives you the right then to turn around and say, well, I'm going to be the final authority in somebody else's life? And so to this 44-year-old woman, I would say, with no harshness or judgment toward your mother, we're going to say, unfortunately, she's not really qualified to be the one that makes the final judgment about you. Besides, there's something better than judgmental thinking anyway. It's what I call descriptive thinking. If you do something and it didn't turn out very well, descriptive thinking says, yeah, I know you had an expectation, but this is the net result. Let's talk about what happened there. Something went wrong and you felt this way and you experienced that. Let's break that down. That's descriptive thinking. Judgmental people don't go into that space. So to the 44-year-old woman, I would say just before you hand over the power to someone else and says, okay, you're going to have the final word, make sure that the person that you're ascribing a certain kind of authority to knows what to do with it. And in this case, I'm guessing you're probably lacking. You mean I'm going to let that person over there who's very underdeveloped be the one that's in charge of my personality? Okay, let's add to this. Another person writes in and says, as an adult, I've had to step away from trying to get my dad's approval by releasing him and being okay with who I am. My response there is good for you. I've struggled with negative feelings about myself that have stemmed from my dad's harsh words and criticism. At 53, I still tense up whenever I'm in the presence of a harsh authority figure. I'm realizing the need to stop worrying about all this crap so I can move on, but it's still a challenge. Another part of you getting that person's message out of your head is to also try to go back and ask, what would cause someone like this authoritarian father or the judgmental mother and then the system and then the bad spouse and all of that, what would cause somebody to be the way that they are? In other words, let's take it out of the issue of the moment and big picture it, which is so much of what therapy is all about. And by the way, you've heard me say, if you haven't received therapy, but you need it, go and check it out because it can be such a helpful kind of thing. Pull back. Why would that authoritarian father be as condescending as he is? And I have one just basic logic thought, and that is because that's what's on the inside of him. I'm going to guess you go back to the childhood of that authoritarian father, and he was probably exposed to a whole lot of authoritarianism himself. That's what he knows, so that's what he has to offer. And then I've had so many discussions with people who can go back and say, well, I know that my father was exposed to all these bad influences or this difficulty, or there were so many hardships that he never was able to get through, or he put so much emphasis on achievement and performance that the emotional dimension was not well tended to. Go ahead and humanize that person and remind yourself this individual who purports to be the ultimate authority in my life really is not. That person has their own junk that they're filtering their life through, and that's how they see me. But I'm a different kind of person. And through the years, I've been exposed to a lot of high-profile people, and these are folks that other folks might want to adulate and all of this. But the more you get to know folks, it's like we all have a certain brokenness, and even if we can look good on the outside, there's something going on the inside that's causing us to struggle. And healthy people will say, "Yeah, I'll work on that in myself, and I want to help you." These kind of individuals, though, who say, no, you have to stay inside my mold, you have to be what I tell you to be, they're strongly authoritarian and overbearing, are doing that because they haven't finished their own business. And they're projecting it into you. They're displacing some of their pain onto you. And so give yourself permission to separate off and to remind yourself, those people who want to be the last word are struggling with their own internal demons. I don't know what they are, maybe, but I need to have my own separate objectivity. So one of the primary things that you'll have to do is to recognize what's going on behind the scenes with those individuals who purport to be the final word over you, and then to develop an objectivity about who they are. And then you want to make sure that you have your own definition of what you want to be. And then give yourself the freedom, the permission to live into that. Now, I'm giving a short answer to you, but what I am saying is, you don't have to be under the chronic influence of unhealthy past experiences. That's the primary message, but it requires you to be specific. And that way, when you're working with a therapist, or if you're just doing stuff like this online, you can kind of go back and remind yourself, this was the message that was given to me. This is what made sense. This is what did not make sense. And the more you're able to break it down, if you want to journal and write things out, I think that's an excellent idea. Then that's how you learn to break free and be your own separate person. Now, it can take weeks, months, years to get this done, but it's an ongoing process. And so I invite you to get on the process and be true to your own real self. And I hope that videos like this and Q&A kind of things like this can give you some good things to think about. If you haven't already hit that subscribe button, I would encourage you to do so, and we're going to keep more of them coming to you. I so appreciate you sending these questions in. Put them in the comments section, and we'll get to more of them as we go along. Now, I have my sponsors, and one of my sponsors is ZocDoc. Some of you have some needs that are of a medical nature related. It may be related to, you may have the flu, but it may be related to psychological issues and depression, anxiety, bipolar disorder. ZocDoc is an online medical service, and I've vetted them, and I would encourage you to seek them out if that's a need that you have. Also, make sure you go to my website. And we have plenty of resources there. I have my courses that are very extensive. Each course has at least 25 teaching videos, along with handouts and guided questions. We have multiple courses that are there about anger and boundaries and the healthy way of life, etc. We also have my webinars, which are 90-minute power presentations on a variety of topics, along with lots of articles and in my book. So we have lots of resources, and I so appreciate you allowing me to be part of your growth journey. Okay, you can't make the past be any different. What you can do is pull back and say, wait a minute. No one human being has the right to have the final word about who I am and how I'm supposed to be. That belongs to me. This is my life, and I'm going to claim it, and I'm going to take responsibility for who I am. And that's the starting point for you to say, I'll hear what other individuals say, but then when it doesn't make sense, I can choose to move into a different direction. That's how much I believe in myself. It's called self-respect. Lean into that. And as you do, I'm hoping it can take you deeper and deeper towards steadiness, which can then take you further down the path towards personal peace.